Okay, good morning. I have changed the name of this podcast to Alecia Renece Podcast, and I don't know what I'm doing, okay? I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know. I don't know what's going to come of this, but I really felt an urge to change the name of my podcast. I have no idea why, but I listened. I listened to that unction and I did, and now the podcast is called Alecia Renece, and it's a colon and it says love letters from a free black woman, right? I'm becoming free. And all the things that I share with the world are love letters, whether they be songs or writings or ideas or thoughts, right? Like I just want to share my love with the world, right? And the love letter project was perfect in my mind. And so when I got this idea to change the name of the podcast, I was like, why? The first thought was, who am I? Why would I use my name? A lot of people use their name when they're established, when people know who they are. And while there are people here, thank you for being here, by the way. While there are people here who do know my name and do care about me, it just felt a little pretentious, if I'm just being honest, like to name my podcast the Alecia Renece Podcast, because who is Alecia Renece? But it's also like it really made me confront that question. Who am I not? Why not use my name? Right? Like, why not? People who work in like SEO or like search engine optimization or like marketing and things like that would probably be like, this is a bad idea, Alecia. This is a really, really bad idea. And I have that part inside of me going like, Alecia, this is not a good idea. This is not a good idea. But like, the thing about me is that I have so many interests. I have so many things that I want to talk about. I have so many things that I want to do. And sometimes those things land outside of the love letter project. Everything I said is a love letter that I create. However, like what happens when I want to experiment? Do I have to create a whole other podcast? And sometimes I will, right? But like, I just want to give my name a chance. I want to have fun. I want to create things that make me happy. I love talking about things that I love. I love creating. I love sharing space with other people. And I don't know, the Love Letter Project just felt limiting to me. I don't know why, but it just felt like it was time to come up with a different name. And the name that came up for me was Alecia Renece, my name. And like I said, I don't know what I'm doing, and I love that. I feel like I'm in the stage of my life where like nothing is concrete, nothing makes sense, and it feels chaotic and it feels like a big question mark, but it also feels amazing. I love that I don't know what I'm doing because that really means that the possibilities are endless, right? Like the possibilities are endless. And it's not just about this podcast. It's not just about, talking here. It's also about my whole life. I feel like I'm really at a place where I'm healing from burnout on one hand. And on the other hand, like I feel inspired to just kind of like let go and just like go crazy, go wild, like just give myself permission and a time to not make sense, to not have to make sense to people. I think I've spent my entire life trying to make sense, trying to make myself make sense, make myself palatable, make myself easy to understand. And like, I don't know. And I thought that there was like something beautiful that can come from being easily understood. But the more that I become easily understood, the more I feel like I'm losing myself because I am complicated. I am complicated. I am a mess. I am multi-passionate. I am multifaceted. I am complex and complicated, like I said, and I love those parts of me, right? And I didn't want to get rid of the complicated parts because it's not marketable. Like I'm not a product to be marketed. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm a human being and human beings are complicated. And I just wish that these platforms could be more human instead of forcing us to like become niches, right? Like and products and brands. And I'm like, no, like I am Alecia Renece and I am human. And the reason why I love the name of my podcast now, Alecia Renece, is because I get to encompass like all of myself. I get to bring all of myself to this place, to this medium, right? Like I sing, I write, I take pictures, like, and I get to incorporate all of that in my creations, And maybe this is like an in-between stage. Maybe the name will change in the future. And I'm open to that. But I'm also open and I'm excited about confronting my fear of fading into oblivion. Like that's a real fear of mine. And it's not about fame or anything necessarily like that. But I think I spent a great deal of my life feeling unseen and being unseen and unprotected. And so I thought that, well, not really I thought, because it was true, right? Me showing up in the world in a way that people like and approve of did grant me access. It did grant me favor with people, right? But what was the cost? What did I trade for their favor? I traded myself. I traded all of myself, like who I really am and all that complication, trying to audition and be good enough for their love, to qualify for their love. And so now here I am, creating a podcast, creating music, like really going into like my artist journey. And I feel afraid to bring all of myself to the platform. Like what? Like I didn't work this hard to create and to build a life that I love, to hide in the dark. I didn't come this far to leave myself. And I've realized that seeking validation from other people had me losing myself. Right? It had me literally, like, even though the fear, it's so ironic. Yo, God is so ironic. Even though the fear was fading into oblivion, like through other people's perspective, the truth is that I did fade into oblivion to myself, right? Like being so afraid to lose people and to lose their approval of me, I lost the approval of myself. Like I lost the real me, the full me, I should say, because even where I showed up in parts, it was still me, right? But it just wasn't wholly me. It just wasn't me in totality. You know what I'm saying? It was me in pieces, or me in fractions, or me, filtered. And I just don't want to filter myself anymore, because I think all the parts of me are beautiful, even the complicated and hard parts. Like all the parts of me are beautiful. And so calling this podcast Alecia Renece Podcast is like freeing for me, because yes, I'm scared that people won't be able to find me, or people will be like, girl, what is going on? Because when I tell you this podcast is about to get wonky, okay? This podcast is about to be all over the place, but I'm so excited about that. And the thing is, like, I'm probably like overhyping it, right? Like I'm like, oh my God, it's going to be so different. But really all it is just me being more of myself, and like showing the world more pieces of myself that I love, that I really enjoy. There are things about me that I really like about myself. And I've had to put those things on the shelf because it's not marketable, or it's not brand worthy, or it's not things that people like or understand. And I'm tired of being liked, and I want to be free, right? Like, do I want to be liked, or do I want to be free? That was a question that I asked myself last Juneteenth of 2023. Juneteenth just passed. And I had to ask myself, like, yes, Alecia, I know that you want to be liked. I know you want to be loved. I know that. Like, we all know that. But do you want to be free, though? And the answer is yes, right? And so that's going to cost me sometimes people liking me. Yikes, right? Facing that, like, yikes. And I'm not going to pretend like I don't care, because I do care. I'm a very caring person. I'm very sensitive, okay? I'm very soft. I'm very supple. And, it's very easy to hurt me, because, like, me sharing my heart with the world means a lot to me. It's a brave thing to do. It's a vulnerable thing to do. And when people meet that with criticism, or like harshness or cruelty, it hurts. And I'm not going to pretend like it doesn't, right? But I think what hurts more, especially in the long run, me trying to avoid the pain short term causes more pain long term, right? So me trying to avoid the pain of rejection from other people, and other people groups and all these other things has kept me from myself, which means that long term, I am a stranger to myself, right? Like me trying so hard to be approved of by them, avoiding that pain of rejection, I reject myself on a constant basis, right? And the thing about being yourself is that if you want to be free, you have to accept the fact, even though it sucks and it hurts and it's hard, that people are not going to like you. And it's also not your job to make people like you. If people don't like you, let them. If people don't get it, let them. I also want to encourage you and implore you to not over-explain yourself. That is exhausting. And sometimes when I am forced to over-explain myself, like I start to lose the plot, right? Like I start to question what I knew before. I knew clearly what I was called to do. I know what spirit told me to do, and so I did it, right? And so when people try to ask, like, why would you do that? Like, that doesn't make business sense. I'll start to doubt myself and be like, why did I do that? That doesn't make business sense. But I'm not here for business. You feel me? Like, I'm here to be a whole person. And if business comes from that, beautiful, great. And I do think that because I am creative, I will find ways to make money. But it doesn't have to be all or nothing here. You know what I'm saying? I think that's the beauty of, like, learning to accept and love yourself. Is like, everybody's not going to get it, but that still doesn't disqualify you. It still doesn't mean that, like, you're not worthy, right? Like, just because others don't get it, you get it. And that's all that mattered. That's all that's ever required. And sometimes it's not even required that you get it. Sometimes spirit will tell you to do things that don't actually make any sense. Like, it's like, what? Like, you're doing all the calculations, you're figuring out, like, okay, what are all the possibilities, right? And even still, you're supposed to do that thing. Because I am afraid of fading into oblivion, I know that I need to do this, right? Like, nobody knows. This is the thing. Like, when I say nobody, I don't mean nobody. But even confronting that, like, Alecia, people know you. You are known. You are seen. You feel me? Like, but this desperation that I learned, because if I wasn't liked or approved of, my needs weren't going to be met. You feel me? Like, if I wasn't liked or approved of, I was going to be bullied or harmed or abused. You feel me? And so, because I was born being trained to be liked and to prioritize being liked, I don't even know what it is to, like, love myself fully when people hate me, right? Like, I've been put in situations where that has happened, but it's so hard. It's so hard to navigate because, I mean, it just hurts. But also, like, can you sit with the fact that people hate you and you still choose to love yourself? And at the time, I couldn't. There were times in my life where if everybody hated me, then I must have to hate myself too, because I'm not doing what I was put here to do, be liked. And sadly, a lot of women, especially Black women, are born and raised and programmed to prioritize being liked above everything else. Being liked, right? Chasing being liked, chasing being enough, chasing being beautiful enough, being pretty enough, being smart enough, being witty enough. Like, I was almost born into a deficit. I was born thinking that I was deficient. But what if, like, nobody listens to the podcast? Will you still speak? If nobody shows up to the concert, will you still sing? If nobody buys the book, will you still write? And these questions are important to ask, because when we ask these questions, it reveals to us, like, how much stuff we're actually doing for other people and not even for ourselves. Maybe the reason why, you're doing something is because you want to be seen, not because you actually like it. Right? And there's no judgment there, because I've done things because I want to be seen and not necessarily because I'm inspired. You know what I mean? But at some point I had to be honest with myself and be like, you know what? I actually hate this. And their approval is not worth my misery. You feel me? And so, yeah, I'm scared. Yeah, this don't make no sense, right? And even still, I'm still showing up and I'm still trying. So welcome to the Alecia Renece Podcast, y'all. It's finna be like this. Whatever this is, okay? Just me, a mic, my thoughts, maybe some friends sometimes, some music some other times. Oh yes, I also have a podcast on my Patreon, where I am going back and listening to music that I love, music and artists that I love, talking about them and talking about other things. I'm just in a stage where I just want to be a kid again, and, like, I'm going back to get my child self. I'm going back to go get her because she is dope. She is so brave. She is so creative. She is so interesting. Right? Like, and she never needed other people's approval, period. She never needed other people's approval. But I also understand and empathize with that part of me and those experiences that I had that really did show me that I did need other people's approval. If from my parent, for example, if I wasn't approved of by my parent would withdraw love from me and care for me. And so, like, I'm 34 years old, unlearning how to be a people pleaser, but I'm also giving myself grace, because I'm not vilifying myself, because that literally is how I survived. I survived life by being liked. When one of your parent is abusive, right, you have to please them. You have to fawn. You have to tiptoe and watch what you say and how you say it. You have to read facial expressions and intonations and all these different things. You become really good at reading people, right? But that also worked against me, right? Because now I'm hyper aware and hyper vigilant, and now I'm anxious. I have anxious attachment style, like, because of that experience growing up, right? And while I'm healing and learning and growing, I'm still worthy. I've always been worthy. And I think me renaming the podcast to the Alecia Renece Podcast, even though for y'all it's like, okay, girl, we get it, it's just a name. But no, like, for me, it's deeper than that, because it's really forcing me to see myself as enough, to see my name, and to be like, you're not riding on SEO, you're not riding on anything. You didn't need anybody else's approval. You had your own approval the entire time. And Alecia Renece was always right. Alecia Renece was lovely. Alecia Renece, I'm talking about the child self of myself, the child version of myself. But also the child version of myself is not just like, oh, I'm healing my inner child. I'm healing myself. Because the inner child is me. The inner child is the me without all the armor. It's the me without all the learned things that I had to learn to survive. It's Alecia free. You know what I'm saying? And so, like, that's why the title is like Love Letters from a Free Black Woman, because even though I am learning how to embrace my freedom and how to be more free, I have always been free. I have always been free. And that freedom has cost me so much. And I thought that I was the problem. And it's like, no, my dear, like you were never the problem. That's just the cost to be free. Freedom ain't free. Freedom was never free. And so for the price of freedom, what are you willing to pay? Like, am I willing to go into the dark and to be hard to find? Am I willing to love my name enough to be like, you know what, that's actually a perfect name for this because Alicia, you're perfect, right? Like, yeah, so I'm really excited about this new era that I'm walking into. Again, I have new segments coming up, like A Kinder World. And I think for each segment, I'm going to make a separate podcast for it just in case people want to find like that specific thing. But like I have A Kinder World because I believe that the world can be kind. I have Beautiful People, which is a conversational series with beautiful people that I know, beautiful conversations with beautiful people. You know, I have so many things. Black Girl Creative is another podcast that I have, and I want to share more of that here because I don't think creativity and me can separate. Like, we go together real bad. You know what I'm saying? Like, me and creativity, okay, we've been together for forever, but I also feel like Black women specifically need to get back in touch with their creativity. So I have some archived, I have some old podcasts I'm going to be sharing here with you all so that you all can tap in and see if you like it. You could also just check out the podcast by itself. It's on hiatus right now because I'm getting ready for season 2. And I'm also, again, like I said, healing from burnout. Your girl is tired, okay? I'm tired and I'm tired. And so so I've been trying to do more restful things, more playful things, because play is rest, and we'll get into that later. But like, I'm going into this next phase of life. July is right around the corner, the last half of the year, joyful, like just pursuing joy. And we'll talk more about that later on. But for right now, like, I just want to let you know that you're enough, that you've always been enough, right? And to be free, there is a cost, but like, loving yourself also comes at a cost. But the love for yourself is the one love that like you need to work to cultivate. It's hard. I'm gonna be honest. It's hard. Learning to love yourself is hard, honey. And when people say things like, oh, you can't love anybody else until you love yourself, that's not true. It's not true. I think we do a great job, especially as Black women. We do a great job loving other people. Loving ourselves, though, that's where the work is. Like, that's what we need to work on. And that's what I need to work on. So thank y'all so much for listening, for being here, for loving me, for encouraging me. I see the reviews, I see the emails, and I'm going to start shouting you all out because I really appreciate y'all taking the time out to say something kind and positive. It's really encouraging, it's helpful, and it helps me to feel less crazy, you know, and less alone in the world. So I see y'all. Shout out to y'all. I don't know what I'm doing, and I'm so excited, and I'm so excited to figure it out, you know, and to journey through the messy middle and, you know, the doubt and the fear, and also facing like that fear of oblivion, like facing that fear of fading into oblivion. Because the thing is, like, even if I do fade into oblivion, right? Like, the lesson I need to learn is that I'm still worthy. If nobody listens to my podcast, if nobody follows me, if nobody knows my name, I am still worthy. I still matter. I still deserve respect and love and kindness and generosity and grace because I am human. I am not a product to be consumed, right? I'm not a brand. I am a human being, okay? And that is enough. That is what qualifies me. And that's what qualifies you. So thank you for being here. Just thank you. And I will talk to you all in the next episode, okay? Bye.